Are South Africans blowing their money on alcohol? How can alcohol consumption be reduced during the festive season? And is the age restriction on alcohol enforceable? Do South Africans afford the alcohol they drink? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Sedu. It is festive season and the consumption of alcohol is also at its peak. Not only do we have underages drinking, but also adults. They have accelerated their alcohol consumption rate. Who is to blame for the high rate of alcohol consumption in South Africa? Is it the media? Is it parents? Or is alcohol just too accessible in Mzansi? In fact, what about the fact that alcohol is also a drug? How can South Africans be saved from alcohol and drugs during the festive season and beyond? Recently, Trade and Industry Minister Rob Davis said proposed amendments to the National Liquor Act, which is now open for public comment, include raising the age of drinking to 21 in South Africa and introduces civil liability for proprietors, suppliers and manufacturers who serve to people who cause accidents or commit crimes while intoxicated. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089 110 4210, our Twitter handle at question time 24. My guest today, Victor Mbani, is from SANCA, and Quentin van Kerken is an Anti-Drug Alliance Chief Executive. And a reminder that we'll be taking your calls. Please do give us a call on the numbers that are on your screen there, 089 110 4210, 089 110 4210. Let us hear what you think about the topic that we are discussing. And we should be able to take your calls on Skype as well, sabc.org. Please do give us a call even if you're on Skype. We should be able to interact with you there. Let me welcome my guest to studio. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I suppose you are all sober.
Yes.
Well, I hope so, yes.
We could test, eh?
Okay. Well, never know. We can't be talking about things which, you're not adhering to. Perhaps let me just start with you from SANCA point of view. The effects of alcohol in the country.
If you consider that we're operating in most of the major cities in the country, and especially in some of the rural areas also, one of the areas being Soweto, you can see the impact of substance abuse and alcohol in the daily lives of people through the clients that walk in on a daily basis, in the plight because of the young man or the father who is being imprisoned by substance abuse and alcohol, the impact on their finances, the impact on the social structures in the family, the community, the morale of the community as a whole. It's evident that you cannot ignore that substance abuse and alcohol are negatively impacting on our communities.
But is there a difference in pattern here? I'm talking about the consumption pattern during the year and now in this festive season?
I think, yes, there is a difference in pattern. And the difference in pattern doesn't need one to be a scientist to even observe. I mean, you go on social media, you interacting with people on the streets, and the tone is December, boss, and that's the energy that is coming out.
Even kids, kids are drinking
unsupervised.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest risks and challenges that comes with the festive season, is that with the increase in consumption by adults, it creates an opportunity for even kids to start tapping into alcohol and substance abuse, because there isn't anyone checking on anyone else. Who's the parent during that kind of space where you find parents that have consumed beyond the point of sobriety? They can't keep track of their kids.
Are drugs as easily accessible like alcohol is?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think even though I run the Anti-Drug Alliance, through our treatment programs, also throughout the country, we're seeing that there's a marked increase in alcohol cases coming through. In fact, just over half of all of the people that walk through our doors, and I think Sanka would probably mirror that, just over half the people that walk through our doors are alcohol related. Now, what we like to say is that alcohol is probably the most dangerous drug out there. It kills more people in South Africa than all the other drugs combined. It causes massacres on our roads, and I really think that the proposed bill that's coming through is a good idea. Yes, let's raise that drinking age, because up until the age of 20, 22, 23, your brain is actually still developing, and to put anything into your body before that time, unless medication, of course, prescribed by a doctor, but anything that you're putting into your body at that time that could be considered mind altering in any way can lead to difficulties in the future. And that's what we want to look at. I think as well as it needs to be policed better. That we, especially alcohol, it's very, very accessible. Drugs, they will always be there. There's court cases and stuff happening that are dealing with them. But I think the real problem that we're seeing right now is just this extreme jump in alcohol abuse.
Do South Africans afford this alcohol they are consuming?
I don't think so. To tell you the truth, I don't think so. If you consider that, typical households, we in a situation where there's a discussion around the minimum wage and all those kinds of things, and they're talking about all the stats that regard to, which percentage of South Africans is earning, at which rate, and you can see when you're looking at all those numbers that South Africans cannot afford to be consuming at the rate that they are consuming it. Alcohol is expensive. It's taking away from the household budget that could have been allocated to more meaningful things for South African households.
In recent, we've just completed a study, the Anti-Drug Alliance, regarding alcohol, drugs, all that sort of stuff, and we'll be publishing it in February next year. But I think one of the main things that came through, and us talking about alcohol now, is that some of the things we looked at, percentage-wise, of all the thousands of people that actually came through the question process for our research project, we found that the average spend on alcohol, the biggest spend, around 40% of people that say that they drink, is between 500 and 1,000 Rand a month. Now that might not seem like a lot of money, but once again, let's bring it down to the minimum wage. That's a third of their salary, or whatever the case would be. So yes, I think that people are spending a lot more money on alcohol than they possibly should or be able to afford.
Dumiso, you're in Centurion. Welcome.
Thank you, Mbo. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
I'm fine, thank you. You're speaking to Dumiso from Centurion.
Yes.
Yes, sir. This is a very important topic that you're talking about. Thank you. And, access to alcohol is a problem, especially young people. Young people are getting more access to alcohol, especially teenagers up to adulthood. And the other problem is that, as we grow up, we drink with our parents, we drink with our mothers, our fathers, even our bosses. And alcohol, we used to respect it. We used to respect adults, But now we have a very huge problem. That's why we have a lot of accidents in the road. It's because of this alcohol.
Yes.
Yes.
Dumiso, thank you very much for that contribution. Indeed, lots of accidents. But I just want to zoom into drugs, because I know that a lot of people don't consider alcohol to be a drug.
Yes.
Whereas it actually is.
Probably the worst out of all of them. If we have to put it into perspective, more than half of all cases that were come through any rehabilitation centre's door. Now, this is the latest Sekendu stuff, which you'd know as well. More than half Now we're going 55% of people that go to rehabilitation across South Africa, across all age groups, race groups, everything like that, is alcohol. Okay. It is the worst drug. A lot of people don't realize that alcohol, in fact, itself is the gateway drug, because you don't often hear of people going, oh, I tried some dacha and then I thought I'd sniff some cocaine. It doesn't happen. We all agree on that. We're adults. Most of the time when you do hear about people trying hard drugs, if I can use that term right now, is we'd had a few drinks and then we tried this.
Okay.
So alcohol is always, we're finding that it is, in our estimation, and most scientists are agreeing, alcohol is actually the gateway drug. That is what is leading younger people to other drugs. And the problem is alcoholism itself is probably one of the hardest conditions to fight. I would probably rather deal with heroin addiction as a therapist than alcohol addiction.
Okay. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, let's talk about who's drinking most here. You know, I'm sure you'll be able to tell us, but also the effects of this alcohol consumption, because people are now spending monies that are meant for other things. Actually, bathi cebo linye masisele kwale school fees. We shall return.
Win a brand new Kia Picanto with SABC TV license. You can also win an all-expenses-paid trip to the Last Dance concert in Richards Bay on the 31st of December 2016. To win, SMS your valid TV license number to 33175 as many times as you can. SMSs cost R1.50, T's and C's apply. It's another great SABC summer. It's all about you.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time, and may I just rectify that I'd said on Skype you'd get us on sabc.org. No, it's actually SABC News. So please, I beg your pardon on that regard. Call us now, 089-1104-210. Our Twitter handle at Question Time 24. My guests are Victor Mbani from Sanka and Quinton van Kerken is Anti-Drug Alliance Chief Executive. Mpilo, you are in Mpumalanga. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, Mpilo.
No, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Now, my view is that when we look at the era of apartheid, we need to understand that black people were structurally based in townships. And in townships, for us to look at our uncles drinking, that was the in thing, that we thought that was the cool thing to do. So young people are facing that issue of seeing other people who have made it in life, drinking bottles, expensive bottles. Hence, we look at advertisements from all the breweries. When they advertise, they show women, cars, and booze. And for us, that creates a situation for black people to say, once I get a bottle of Hennessy, I have made it in life. So the issue of alcohol is very complex to young people, because for us, we feel the need to go out there to our peers and show them that we've made it in life through alcohol. Hence, when we come back from Joburg to Mpumalanga, what we do is just buy the most expensive bottle and make sure that young people see us, and young people aspire to do that.
But Mpilo, is it not people's choices? I mean, I grew up in the township, and I mean, I'm still sober 43 years later.
It is young people's choice, but with us, we want to be cool. I come from an area where when everybody buys a new car, they go to this other circle where we stay and they showcase their car. Once I start working, I don't think of a house, I think of a car, because that's what my psychological thinking tells me. I need to do this to conform to the standards of the people in the townships. I'm not saying that people in the townships, all of them are doing that, but then we want to be cool, we want to be seen. So for me to buy a bottle of Hennessy, when I see it on TV, I believe I am going to find a woman and I am going to drive that car that has been shown on TV.
Bilo, thank you very much for that call. What do you think?
This is exactly what we deal with all the time. You especially when it comes to young people, Nampilo, obviously a younger guy, wanting to impress, all this kind of stuff. This is exactly what we're talking about. Do we blame the alcohol companies? No, it's a business. They're advertising. They're meant to sell their product. Like any other business, you're going to advertise to sell your product. To blame the alcohol companies for that, no, I don't think it's an issue. I think it's more a societal issue where he said it. We saw our uncles drinking, we saw the older people, and it just became a part of life. You made a very valid point. You can choose not to do it.
Yes.
That is what it is. He isn't choosing not to. He's choosing to conform. And therein lies the problem, is that so many young people are choosing to conform with where everybody's going, what they're being bombarded with all the time. And yes, they are going to end up in using things that they shouldn't. There's going to be substance misuse. There is going to be underage drinking. But you can choose not to do it.
Yeah, you know, if we were to, I'm to pick up on on this discussion. You can't just take it and leave it on the issue of apartheid and the history of South Africa. You know, the challenge is that young people lack affirmation. They lack affirmation. They lack confidence, and they are not, you know, they have not yet found themselves as individuals. And unfortunately, in an environment like that, any influence, and we're not just leaving it to alcohol only, but any influence can steer them in any direction.
Okay, hold it there. Let's take Charles. Charles, you are in New Zealand. Charles? Is Charles gone? Oh, Charles, please do give us a call. We want to know who are the Murekis there in Musina, you know. And indeed, who is the biggest Mureki out there?
You know, if you look at the connection between the HIV and the young people being infected at around the ages of 14 and 15, and the fact that they are infected by men, or there's a correlation to men between the ages of around 35 and 40, then it gives you an idea that who are the Murekis in this situation. It's often middle-aged men, and they are often the ones that are fueling, if I may call it like that, the alcohol consumption, which in a sense also then impacts on the issue of HIV/AIDS and teenage pregnancy in South Africa.
Now, the affordability of drugs in South Africa is a problem. Would, I know some are arguing, legalize these things. You're one of those.
I'm one of them. I think prohibition has never worked. Let's go back to America with the prohibition of alcohol. What happened? It drives the sales of it underground. That's all. It doesn't stop. I had an interesting conversation with a lady the other day that said, it'll be a free-for-all if we legalize. I said, no. Right now it's a free-for-all because it's not regulated. Do you understand? The thing is, the moment that we're able to regulate something, we have control over it. Right now, the government has no control over drugs. They have no control over its sale. They have no control over who's using it.
Okay, hold it there. Let's take AB. AB, you're in Groblersdal. AB? Is AB there? We seem to have lost AB in Groblersdal there. Okay. So, how will it help if drugs are legalized?
I think it works about stigmatization. Okay. right now, and my colleague from Sanka's here, and it's fantastic because you'll know, there's a big stigma that revolves around addiction. Somebody comes to their boss at work and says, I have a drinking problem. The company itself doesn't really worry too much. So they're like, okay, that's great. Let's send you for rehabilitation or get you help or send you to a support group. There's really no, it's not seen as a big deal anymore. It's oh, it's happened, let's deal with it. As soon as we start talking about any form of drugs, next week the guy's fired for something completely unrelated, even though he's an addict. Just the way an alcohol, you're addicted to alcohol, you can be addicted to any substance.
Hold it there. AB, you're back. Welcome. AB? AB, are you back? Okay. We don't seem to have AB there.
Can I
come
in on the issue of regulating versus not?
Mm-hmm.
If you consider the fact that alcohol is regulated and we're battling already with alcohol, it leads one to question as to how well are we going to do with regards to the regulating, because regulation is good if the enforcement is there. So before we can even start on the question of regulating, I think we need to start fixing up on the issue of enforcement. Are we still finding young people going into taverns at the age of 15 and buying alcohol? Yes, that happens. Are we finding taverns open at 6 in the afternoon on Sunday when we know the Act stipulates clearly that it gives restrictions to that, but we're still finding that they are open. So the question is, why are we not getting it right with the enforcement? How can we get it right with the enforcement so that regulation can actually work for us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what should happen now? What do you suggest happens?
I think it's just on the issue of improving on enforcement. It's about, rather than adding on more regulations on existing regulations that we're struggling with, it's about getting what we already have right. I think that is where we need to actually start.
South Africa is one of the biggest consumers of alcohol in the world.
Yeah.
We seem to just lead in everything, eh?
I think one of the issues that is there also is that we often believe that people with the right information can make the right choices. But we've seen with the HIV/AIDS pandemic that we didn't win when we were relying on that. It just didn't work. We need to be actively involved, not to leave it to the citizens themselves to manage it, but we as institutions and as regulators, we need to be actively involved in making sure that access is curbed, that production is curbed, that if in an environment like that, it becomes more easier for people like us to come in and be players and to assist in that.
Okay, let's take Jimmy. Jimmy, you are in PE. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Jimmy.
Man, I'm just listening to the guys talking there about abuse of drugs.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We have so many laws in South Africa at the moment, and trying to curb drugs and alcohol abuse and all that. It will never stop if you don't produce something. If you don't make it, if you stop making it, then you won't have it. But while you're making it, you will always have the problem. It doesn't matter what law you bring into the country. Alcohol abuse and drug abuse will always be there. It's just a simple thing as stop making alcohol, you just don't have the problem you're sitting with. That's all I just wanted to say.
Okay, Jimmy, thank you very much for the call. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. I want us to just wrap your message.
I think make good choices. Make good choices about your life and you'll have lots of options in the future. That's what I tell everybody that comes through my door.
Now, what do you say to those who are saying, indeed, school fees?
It's not easy to make that choice when you have that alcohol in front of you. So to South Africans, I'd say abstain. It's the best thing to do for yourself, because once the brain is used to this drug, it's so difficult to let go of it.
Okay.
Better stay away from it. That's the best thing to do.
All righty. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time, and wish you all the best in your endeavors in the future. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time.